Let's start the video in the air. Those buildings you see, that's the Chilliwack River hatchery, and that is the reason all these salmon congregate in this pool. They can smell that hatchery water coming down Slessy Creek, and they wait here. And they stage here, and then they make their way up into the spawning channels at the hatchery. It's quite amazing that they can find their way back halfway across the Pacific Ocean, all the way to the exact spot where they hatched out of the gravel. So last time I was at this spot, it was loaded with these red Chinooks, these summer red Chinooks. And they turn a beautiful red color, and they're quite easy and nice to see from the air. This video was taken September 4th, and all those red Chinooks were mostly gone, and they were instead replaced by the fall white Chinooks, and these are sort of a gray-green fish, and much harder to see from the air. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with drone footage, just a little overview of the run so you can have an idea of where I was snorkeling. Let's get in the water. I'm going to start the video with a few shots of trout because I find the trout just as fascinating as the salmon. This first one is a cutthroat. So cutthroat come up from the ocean and they spawn in the river, but they also hang around and feed on salmon eggs and salmon flesh. Fish. This is a bull trout. Bull trout also travel long distances to search out the best seasonal food opportunities. So they will spend their summers up in Chilliwack Lake hunting sockeye smolts. And then in the fall they come down into the river to feed on salmon eggs, but also on bits of rotting salmon flesh floating down the river. So these fish really gorge. This particular bull trout is actually the biggest one that I've ever seen in the Veta River. It's well over 2 feet long. It's a big, chunky fish. Now let's get into the salmon. This time, instead of swimming around with a selfie stick, I put my camera on the bottom, and that way I can film them in a less invasive way. I'm not scaring them, I'm not pushing them around as I swim. So I was able to get these fish in a much more relaxed mood. All of these are really early run white Chinooks. So white Chinooks are transplanted from the Harrison River by the hatchery. And most of these fish lack the ability to absorb keratin from their foods. So instead of having typical salmon colored meat, they have a very pale kind of ivory colored meat. And that's why we call them white Chinooks. They are mixed in with a few of the red Chinooks, and you can tell there's quite a bit of a difference in body shape. The one in the background is a red Chinook. You can see different color as well. But if you pay attention, the snout on these white Chinooks is kind of sharp and pointed, and their body is tall on the shoulders, kind of an oblong football shaped. Whereas here's a red Chinook right there in the picture. It's got kind of a shorter snout and a more cylindrical body. So they are different genetics. The red Chinooks are transplanted from the Prince George region originally, and these two runs of fish do not spawn together as far as anybody knows. Actually, these white Chinooks will be staging in the river for another month and a half or so before they're ready to spawn. In the meantime, the red Chinooks will have already spawned and died. While my camera was filming, I cleaned up a bunch of illegal fishing gear. This big treble is particularly worrisome. But actually none of this gear should be here. This spot is above the fishing boundary. There are very big and clear signs that this is a no fishing area. Yet every time I swim here, I find new fishing gear. Keep in mind I had already cleaned up this spot of all the fishing gear about 2 weeks previously. So every time I'm in there, I find more stuff. I wanted to include a couple of shots of Rocky Mountain whitefish. They're also a cool little fish. And the salmon don't really harass them. There's very little aggression that I ever see from the salmon. Now this head-on shot of salmon illustrates a really good point about flossing. So when anglers are flossing, there is no attempt made to make the fish bite the lure. They simply run long leaders through these school of fish, hoping to kind of string their leader through the mouth as that fish is breathing. you look at these fish, they really don't open their mouth very wide. It's a really small target to hit in a big river. What is big is all those fins sticking out the sides. So they've got all this dorsal fin, pectoral fins, all the fins all over the place. So when people are running hooks through these school of fish on long leaders, what mostly ends up happening is the fish get foul hooked, so they don't get hooked in the mouth. They get hooked on those fins or in the belly, and it's a really poor way to treat these fish. Anytime you're fishing, if you're foul hooking a lot of fish, you need to change it up. In my opinion, it's acceptable to foul hook maybe 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 fish. And if you're foul hooking most of your fish, you need to change it up. Another common issue that I see with catch and release fishing are eye injuries. So this salmon next to me is, for all intents and purposes, blind. And that happens when fish get dragged up on shore and then released. Fish don't have eyelids. They're creatures of zero gravity. They live in this soft world. And when you damage their eyes, it really compromises the way they're able to continue their journey and later spawn. I see this quite a bit. Fish with infected eyes are no longer able to see. So if you're catching fish, make sure that you don't drag them up on the rocks, and don't even turn them sideways to take the hook out of their mouth. As much as you can, protect their eyes. It really helps them out a lot. I'm often asked how long I can hold my breath. Well, this dive that I'm filming here is about a minute, and that's pretty comfortable for me. In the freediving world, that's actually a really short dive. Most freedivers can do 2 to 3 minutes of one breath hold. And when I was young and in good shape, I used to be able to do that too. These days I don't train and my cardio is not that good. So 1 minute, pretty comfortable. I'm looking at the salmon that are just upstream from the camera. Here I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll show you what I'm looking at. Oh, these fish up there. Just last couple of shots. There's a little rainbow trout in the picture. He's also here eating salmon eggs. Thank you very much for watching. I do have another video like this coming up soon. I was up at this spot just today, just before coming home and editing, and it was much more loaded with salmon. So I got some really cool footage of you know, there may have been a couple 100 salmon in here this time. Next video, I'm going to show you what a couple of 1,000 salmon looks like. It's going to be pretty impressive. So thanks for watching. See you next time.